Preacher,
Preach the word.
God told you.
Preach the word.
God told you.
Preach the word.
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 That holy 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 word.
Preach the word.
Preacher,
Preach the word.
preacher,
Preach the word.
God told you.
Preach the word.
God told you.
Preach the word.
Preach, 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 preacher, 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 preach, preach, preacher, 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 preach, preach, preacher, 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 preach the word, preach the word, God's word, God's word, preach, preach, preacher, preacher,